Hi, everybody. Dr. Kiel here. I am coming today with some study tips and ideas, hopefully things that might help you, resources to begin the semester with, but also to come back later in the semester. One of the things I want to emphasize is that learning and retaining information is an active process. You can go through life and you can see things, and your brain on default kind of takes it in and then just kind of sends it out. It does some processing subconsciously, but it does not do a lot of learning and retaining new information. So to learn and retain new information, you actually have to be focused. That's no TV, TikTok. Some people can't do music, in a place where you're not disturbed for periods of time. And when you finish studying, you should feel tired, and you should feel like you put some effort forward. Make sure that you make that studying count. Don't let it just be automatic information in that then your brain can let go, but let it be that you're consciously taking in the information and you're repeating it in different ways and practicing recalling it. Flashcards are a great option. I know lots of people have used flashcards in AP1, but I also made an example of sorting cards. These are, I think, super helpful. So I made sorting cards for how to make toast. You can only write on one side. And for this, I've done both the steps of how to make toast and what I need to do during those steps. So I'll look through my cards, and I've looked through and I've identified that these are the 3 steps for making toast. I know that prepare bread comes first, and I do know these are backwards. Bear with it. I then know that we will set the toaster, and then I know that we will place the bread. So I might lay these out in front of me, but then what I would do is I have the individual steps. So not only do I have to get these in order in front of me, but I've got to match the right step to the right instructions. So I need to know that place bread on middle rack would have to go under place bread. But remove from bag and apply butter would go under prepare bread. And then select medium, and the toast setting would be for the prepare toaster. So now I'm having to both put it in order and match some definitions. That's super helpful for all of the processes that we'll go through, where there's a 1, 2, 3, or where there's a flow chart in the textbook. I think that those are sometimes a little more effective than just the flashcards back and forth. The flashcards are great for straightforward definitions and for relating structures to function or identifying structures. Repetition and consistency is key. So it's not just enough to sit and read your notes. It's not going to be effective. You need to actively have to recall that information. If you're not actively recalling it, your brain's going to take it in and let it go. Once you're actively recalling it, it turns those brain cells on to say, oh, I should actually store this away for later. So that's important. And then consistency as well. You cannot cram for this. It will be like drinking through a fire hose, and it doesn't work. So do a little bit every day. I understand if you need to take days off, but have a plan. Think about your work schedule, your other classes schedule, your family responsibility schedule, and even put studying in there in a time slot. So spend some time at the beginning of the semester thinking, okay, I work full time and I have a family. Am I a night person and I'm going to study, from 11 to 12? Am I a morning person and it's easier for me to get up and study from 4:30 to 5:30? How am I going to get those chunks of time? Look at location as well. So somewhere, again, where there's not a TV on, where you're not being disturbed. It is generally hard to study with other people around unless you're studying as a group, or everyone else in the area is doing their own thing, because each time you're interrupted, that interrupts that brain pathway. So think about location for that. Changing location, though, is a really good strategy. So if you're having trouble, sometimes going to the library, going to one of the student lounges, going to a coffee shop, changing to a different room, sitting on the porch, all of those things can help retain information. And also, if you go to the library, it gives you a set time of concentrated studying, which I find always makes it better afterwards, because you go home and I put in my time, now I'm free. Practice different methods of dealing with the information. Some people are writers, and it's really important for them to write everything down. Some people do well with diagrams. If that's the case, cover up with Post-it notes the labels on one of the diagrams in the book and write on each note what the steps are. Or in your sorting cards for the phases of the cell cycle, that's an example where you can actually draw a little picture and actually have to sort that into things. There are coloring books for anatomy and physiology, which some people find helpful. Caution, if you just color and don't focus on the information, though, it won't stick. So be aware if you're dealing with that. In lab, make sure that you handle all the models. That touching them and seeing it in 3D and moving it around activates different parts of your brain. So yes, there may be a lovely diagram in your lab book or on the PowerPoint that you feel like is very clear, but just by touching that model and picking it up and handling it or putting your fingers on it, you're engaging more neurons to help that pathway. There are the other videos. So there are Joe videos for anatomy and physiology available through your portal. There are some YouTube videos that may be helpful. For some students, video learning is really effective. So figure out what works for you. Don't be afraid to try something new. And then engage in the lectures. So I try to make it where there is some participation in the lectures. As those questions come up, be remembering what we talk about, that there may be practice questions on. For some people, taking notes during the lectures is great. And in general, I think that's how studying works best. Whether that's taking notes by hand, whether that's on a computer, whether that's printing out the PowerPoint slides ahead of time to take notes on, whatever you need to do to take some notes. I have had a few students that tell me it's more helpful for them to come to the lecture and really pay attention, come when they're fresh, not when they're tired, and listen and focus so that they don't have to worry about catching everything. And then they may go back after and either rewatch or engage with the textbook and the PowerPoint to learn and get those things communicating in their brain. So find what works for you. Watch the lectures. If you don't watch the lectures and just look at the PowerPoints, you're going to miss things that are on the exam. So whether you are a hybrid class and not everything is in person, or whether you're fully online, those lectures are going to be helpful. And I try to tell some interesting stories and make them like a little bit fun, so that you can hopefully have an anchor to keep that information in your mind. Work in groups if you can. If you get along with your lab group really well or have a tutoring group, make sure that your group is focused on studying, but there's always someone that will come up with a great mnemonic device to remember things, or that may have caught something in the lecture or in the textbook that you didn't catch, and they'll explain it to you. And honestly, explaining the concept to someone is a great way to learn and check your understanding. Whenever I've learned a new concept about a pet's disease process and I haven't practiced explaining it to a client, or the first time I go to explain it to a client, I always notice that I'll find little gaps of information or things that mean that it doesn't flow straight forward. And so practicing ahead of time or getting better at repeating the information verbally or writing down a little script will make a huge difference in organizing that information in your mind. When you look at the lectures, watch for clues as to what might be on the exam. I am generously telling you often, this will be heavily emphasized on the exam, or think about what the topics of the practice questions are. sometimes you are getting exam questions from that will help your grade, make your studying easier. But if you zone out and don't pay attention or don't watch, you're missing those opportunities. Take some short breaks. That can be helpful and has been shown to be a good study tool. If you search online or on YouTube, there are a class of videos called Study With Me, and they're Pomodoro, Pomodoro. And it's a study method that specifically sets timers for 25 minutes or 55 minutes or whatever minutes you need. And then it has the breaks scheduled in. And these are longer sessions so that you can kind of be accountable for getting that studying done. Don't forget about the tutoring center. IRSC has an awesome tutoring center with good tutors that are able to help you, even if you just need someone to hold you accountable. And so you decide to show up at the tutoring center every Wednesday at 10 a.m. because you know that someone's looking for you to come. And if you don't come, they're going to wonder what happens to you. That's a great way to get some studying in. The Pearson MyLab that comes with our Martini textbook has study options too, where it can even help track your learning and find the spots that you're weak with. So it's not only the quizzes and assignments, but there's other things that can be helpful there for you as well. And then really for online and hybrid courses, a huge portion is time management, keeping track of those due dates, keeping track of what's coming up or where you need to be, not putting things off till the end. If you can keep up and keep consistent, you're going to do better in the course. I'm always happy to talk with you and hear about what you're doing for studying, what your life looks like, what works and what may not work. So reach out when you need that. And good luck on what you're studying. It's fun. It's going to be useful. Put the time in, put the effort in, and I think you'll do great things. Bye.